Dude, so we got coffee.
Yeah.
You know, it went really well. And at the end, she leans over the table and she asked me, "How big is your animal?"
How'd that make you feel?
Bro, I was hurt.
Yeah.
I had to, I had to pray about it.
Yeah.
I don't think I can see her again.
Yeah.
But let her down easy.
Welcome to the Perspectives Podcast.
Yeah. Welcome to the Perspective Podcast. Josue here. As you guys probably already know, I'm a fellow believer from the Democratic Republic of Congo. I live in Texas, from what I'm told. I preach at times, but we're not here for me. To my right, we have Mr. Chase Brown himself. He was born in Texas, from what I hear. He attended the University of North Texas. He's an aspiring philanthropic creative, and it is December 31st, and he still loves very long walks on the beach. Why that is, I have no idea. Let's get into it. Chase,
Did you forget the date?
Did I say December 31st?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it May 31st?
It's Memorial Day, dude.
Oh, it's the rain. It's the rain.
Yeah, it's getting to you.
Yeah.
No, it's okay, bro.
It's okay.
Yeah, I'm doing well. It's been a really, really good week. And yeah, some cool things coming up in Costa Rica in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then always having a Monday off from work is great. So shout out to all of the veterans.
Shout out to
Memorials,
the veterans.
everything like that. Yeah. So how are you doing, bro?
I'm good, even though I messed up the date. I thought I said May 31st, but it came out December 31st.
Yeah.
But I think we'll be able to get
It's
through
okay.
it.
English isn't your first language.
English is not my first language, as you guys probably already know by now. But I have some good news and bad news. The good news is, I guess the bad news is, I'm wearing this sweater for the second time on air. We'll be able to get through it. We need to order more sweaters. But the good news is we have a very special guest. As you guys probably already know, whenever we are on, we try to bring you guys a special guest. And today we have the man himself, all the way from the six, as Drake likes to call it. That's what they call it, right? No,
he's not from Toronto.
Oh.
It's from the other part of Canada.
Oh, I didn't know there was that many parts. That's on me.
Photographic genius.
Okay.
Husband to our dear friend Kirby Kelly. Now an influencer in and of himself.
Let's go. End of applause. Richard Kelly. Let's go. Hey.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Man,
thanks for having me on.
I feel like we need to add that on, like as part of a.
Wait, we can.
Yeah.
We'll talk to the producer. We can see.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
See if it's in the budget. Or
Yeah. How you been, man?
Doing pretty good. How are you guys?
We're good, man.
Yeah.
We're glad to have you here. I feel like this is totally random. Do you know a guy named Judah Smith?
Yeah.
Okay.
I see where you're going.
You see where I'm going?
I see it a little bit.
I've heard it. It's because of the glasses.
It is.
It's
definitely
just
the
'cause
glasses.
and the
The
nose.
hair too.
Yeah. Well, this is crazy. I was really hoping to get a haircut before this, but my barber can't fit me in until Wednesday. So
that's
we
the
got all
worst.
this
Yeah.
going on now. So it's okay. It's
Yeah.
forever in stone.
Yeah.
Let the flow go. Let it
just go.
Yeah, bro. So dope. Well, thank you so much for coming on, man. We've been talking about it for a little bit and just kind of thinking of like, okay, Richard is a really dope dude that we'd love to have on. And there's a ton of things that we talk about that we think relate to you and your life, and just trying to get all the puzzle pieces fit together, stuff like that. So first things first, which I think is Josue's favorite question. What do you think is the key to getting the perfect photo?
The key to getting the perfect photo
Yeah, bro. What do you think?
is have an idea in your head and then capturing what you saw, or better.
What do you think about that?
I think that's good. My question always for the photographers, that we've spoken to and people that are creative in that aspect is like, do you look at pictures and you're like, that's trash, that's no good? Or you're usually like, you tried. Like, how do you feel about other people's work?
Depends on the context. If I'm scrolling Instagram and I see someone that I know personally, that I know their gear and I know, their experience as well, and then I see something, I'm like, oh, that's not what I expected from them, and that's like not. I sometimes I can see that it's like I feel that was a forced post, especially on Instagram, because Instagram necessarily isn't like it is some of your best work, but a lot of people feel the need to continuously post as well. And when you run out of your best work, you start posting your second best work. And so sometimes I see that come through where it's like, oh, they're just posting because they want to post versus, you know, posting out of like, this is my favorite piece of this entire set. So sometimes I'll be like, oh, they could have done better. But I mean, everyone has their own level of, you know, what they want. And, you know.
That's really interesting because I'm thinking about, I heard you use the word piece and set. Whereas when I see a picture, I'm like, oh, that's just a picture, you know. But as someone who does this, you know, you're thinking of like an artwork or a masterpiece or a project or whatever the situation might be. But for me, it's just a picture. So that's really
Just kind of see the end result.
Yeah.
So then how did you get involved in photography? Because I know a little bit, but I would love to hear.
So it's, I did like a bit of photography in high school just because they were easy courses and you get the easy credits. And me and my friends, we just joined a couple of the classes, had a lot of fun with that. But I think it was about 6 years ago now, just about, I was in the studio with my music producer and we were recording one of my songs and we took a break to look at photography. And because he was just picking up cameras and starting photography as well. And so we were looking at them and we were like, wow, these are really good photos. And he just encouraged me. He's like, you should get it. I think you'd be good at it. You have an eye for it. So I was like, well, let's look up cameras, see if I can find a secondhand one that I could start, you know, something that I could put a lens on. And I didn't ever like the big bulky cameras. And so I'm like, let's look for a Sony mirrorless camera, see if there's one close by. And that they're like really thin cameras, especially on the smaller end. And so I found one on like Craigslist type thing. That night, it was like $300. We drove an hour and a half, bought it that night, and then went back, got home at like 1 a.m. and I just started taking photos with it over the summer. And then around that time, I started traveling as well a little bit. And I realized I'm like, this is cool, like traveling and taking pictures. Like I love doing this. And I was just going on a lot of road trips, you know, on my days off with friends. And then I realized I'm like, you know, if I really put work into this about, you know, 3/4 of a year later, I realized if I put enough work in as if it was a full-time job or as if it were, you know, a degree I was getting in school. Like if I put the amount of hours into it as I would to a university course, then I'm like, I could really get somewhere with this. And, you know, I could still work a full-time job as well to pay for all the, you know, everything else while I just practice at this. So that's exactly what I did. And it was like about January 2016 that I just started like going in and just spending at least 8 hours a day working on photography.
Yeah. And at one point during maybe, you know, after 2016, did it really click like, I'm kind of good at this?
Well, yeah, I think I started to, I think it was around the time I started video. Because video is 96% of what I do now. I only do like 4% of photos at this point because I just put so much more into video. But photo, I felt like I kind of got to a really good peak to a point in like 2017, 2018. So I think end of 2017, I was like, yeah, I'm really liking these photos. And I think I have like enough under my belt to say that I'm a photographer. And then that's when I started doing video as well. And I was like, you know, I want to take this challenge on now because I wanted to like push myself a little bit more. And video there's a lot more to learn in video.
Yeah, dude. That's super crazy. And it's so cool how like, I think how a guy can go from, you know, introducing one bit, and it doesn't even have to be like a creative outlet, but it's like something to you. And then from there, like through him introducing that, like he reveals like, all right, like this is actually what I had intention for you. So like you didn't start out doing video. You didn't start out like with that being the intention, but that's what you're doing now and kind of how you make a career for the most part also. And so it's so cool that he's able to do that, like to our, I don't know, blindness or whatever, I guess you could
we'll kind
say.
of just stumble into something like, oh, I don't know how I got here.
Because I mean, for us, like for everything with perspectives and everything just with the nonprofit and the charity, like none of us, like this was never really a thought that we had in college and anything like that. It wasn't like this grand master plan that like we had. We ain't smart enough for that. I wish, but we aren't. And it's just something that through jobs, through small groups and everything like that, like God was just able to kind of like get this started. And then from there, like he's still refining obviously a lot of things like daily. And so it's super interesting to be able to do that. And so from there, what were some of the things that you enjoyed the most about videography and photography? Because I've heard things of just like, being able to capture moments for other people that they're going to be able to cherish for the rest of their life. Just simply being able to create something that's beautiful, being able to find God in nature and things like that. Because as you said, you were doing a lot of travel, kind of a little bit of nature related things. So what do you think was the most fun, interesting part about that for you?
I don't know. It was a lot of fun just because I could put ideas out there. I could like just produce really quickly random ideas I had in video. And then it developed to a point of, hey, now I can make money off of this and kind of start to supplement my other incomes. Because at that point, I think I had 2 jobs still. And then I went down to 1 job and was doing that, and then started making money from video. And then it got to a point where I was comfortable enough to actually like, I think I was like at a point where I could finally connect emotion to video. And I think that was the coolest point where I'm just like, okay, now I'm like, I don't have to do 100 things at once. I can do one project at a time, and I can really help convey the meaning behind this. I can help convey the emotion behind this. And that was when I started to like really like hit a stride, if that makes sense, where I was like, now I can, now my work feels unique versus just the random transition hype video you see on Instagram. Like I was like, now I can actually do something a little bit separate here, and it felt a lot more special in that way.
Yeah, I think one thing that you kind of mentioned, I was like, oh, I didn't know that. You do music still, or is that just something you did at one time?
Yeah, I now that I live here, I don't have a piano.
Okay.
And the piano I'm looking at is about $4,000, $5,000.
Okay.
And so I want to wait,
Yeah.
a little bit longer until.
Do you sing?
What, pardon?
You sing?
Yeah, a little bit.
He's got a guitar at the apartment too. Fiddles on that a little bit.
That's intense. The follow-up question that I had in light of, photography and videography and all that good stuff, what are some of the struggles, with just that industry, I guess you would say, that you might have seen, in your own line of work? That's some of the things you're trying to overcome or work through or things like that.
Well, in the photo video content creation, because like I'm in a weird spot between the documentary, kind of like leaning towards a documentary cinema type of side of it, where I'm kind of barely scratching that now. With my new camera, I'm finally able to provide like cinema quality work, but I'm also in the social media production side as well. So I'm in like a weird space, and what I've noticed, I think a lot of the struggles of people who do what I do as well, there's competition, obviously, competitiveness, where it's, everyone's out there trying to charge the lowest and do the quickest kind of mediocre job at it. And like, they're on their Gary V, they listen to like, 20 Gary V videos, and they're just out there trying to like push everyone else aside to get what they want, which is like, like we've all been there to a point. We've all been really motivated at some points and, overselling ourselves. But that kind of creates almost a unsupportive environment for creatives to come together and learn from each other and take inspiration from one another and, actually collaborate and work together on stuff. So that's one thing. And then I guess another negative side is and somewhat connected is the expectations of clients. Some people are used to the guy that comes in, does the quick thing on his camera, and then leaves and sends them like 5 different videos at the end of the day that he just put presets on and all that stuff. And like, it's tough to be, kind of approaching similar clients that are sometimes expecting stuff like that, quick turnarounds and stuff, when, it takes 3 hours just to like offload my video and sync it up to the editing program. And then it's like, okay, now I can start to actually like, unpack this and like see what I filmed and like all that. So it's definitely like the expectations of clients as well is a challenge. And I'm really blessed to work with some phenomenal people that, understand how I work. And, yeah, like I'm really blessed in that sense. But there's it like with everything, you know, there's people who do a job well, and then there's people who, you know, just like what's the word? Just do half measures.
Yeah.
And so it's just navigating that world and also trying to be a light in my industry, because I feel like there's a lot of negativity that comes from both these things I just mentioned, and I just want people to kind of like relax,
Yeah.
you know, and be like, hey, if I took this job, I'm not here trying to take your entire career. I just found that this job suits, you know, the direction I'm heading,
Yeah.
and me and the client's vision aligned.
Do you find, I think you use the word content creator, right? In that space, do you find that a lot of people tend to be, you know, competitive to a point where it just becomes toxic, where it's like, it almost feels like you're stepping into someone's territory, you know, just because of the nature of the work that you guys do, since it's so competitive.
Yeah, so like I've actually stepped away from the content creation thing, because I've just like, I think I used to call myself that. And over the last year and a bit, I've just realized I'm like, I don't want to like be in that world, because it is competitive, and you know, there is a lot of like people just have their territory, have their clients, have their thing, and you know, I obviously want to make money and do all that too, but I don't want to be in that world as much, because I know I can bring something different, and I want to make sure I'm set apart. So I've actually like someone gave me a title. I was at this dinner or whatever, and someone introduced me as a creative producer.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was like, okay, I like that. I like
Yeah.
that, because, you know, I've stepped into more, not just like creating the content, but now I'm like helping clients find people to create the content, or I can help, you know, teach them how to curate it for different social platforms. And so I've been doing a lot more of that, you know, consulting behind the scenes stuff as well. And, you know, working with other creators to, you know, sculpt whatever they created, and kind of create, mold that into what will work for each platform for the client, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So in that, there's a lot less competition, because, you know, usually people are very narrow in their, they have their niche, and it's really good. And I've been able to step back, take a breath, be like, okay, where can I thrive the most, and where can I be the most creative as well, and help the most people in that. So
Yeah. And I think it's something super good that you being able to, like, hitting on a couple points that you brought up, bring different creatives to like these clients that you have to be able to fill in that niche that they have. And in that, being able to pursue, I think how Axel puts it is like collaboration over competition. And for us, like, as we've talked about, kind of one of our big hearts is like unity in that. And I think it's something that through Axel and through some others that God's really, I think, moving in unifying creatives and a lot of things. Like even friends like Chaz and Montel, like that are in two separate fields of creativity, you know, comedy, that's not comedian, comedy. Yeah. And music and YouTube stuff, like, but them still being super tight friends, and in that being able to encourage one another. And so it's super, I think, just encouraging you in that, yeah, I think that what you're doing and stepping into with the producing part of it is definitely something that's going to be very long term and very impactful for, I think, what God's trying to do in the church now and in the kingdom. Because especially, like, as you mentioned, with you trying to be a light in, you know, the creative realm also, I think that's something that the church is stepping into a little bit more. And so from there, that'll be able to position you well as a leader within that, which I think you are in a sense. So I hope you can be encouraged with that, bro.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. So then from there, what do you think is the way that you balance, you know, being that light in, you know, everyone that you're working with, you know, whether it's Mercedes, whether it's, you know, all these brands that you're working with, while not being, you know, over spiritual in what you're doing to the point where like you can't relate to them? Like, how do you pursue that?
I mean, I just like do my best to, like, in every situation, whether it's hanging out with a group of few people or whether it's, you know, working on those projects, I just want to be the person like Christ, like, redeemed me as, like, you know, the new person. And I'm just like trying to consistently just be positive and just be a godly human being, because I know that it's, there's nothing worse than someone trying to, sell you on something continuously, like every, 30 minutes. And it's like, hey man, just want you to know, I'm a Christian and I love you very much. And I think you should become a Christian, this week, if you got free time, we can, I'm not trying to hustle God, if that makes sense, but I want to be godly in my, I guess, in the way I approach everything. So, does that make sense?
It does. That makes sense.
Yeah, I wish I could explain that better, but I just want to bring like the person God has made me to be through like reading the Word, through a relationship with God, and through just time spent, just in the Word and around my community as well, and like how God's changed me through that. I just want to continue to be that person, and in whatever I do, because that's what we're called to do.
Yeah, because I think it's so good. Like for me, because kind of why I was asking that, back in college, whenever I was playing lacrosse, it was something where God during that time, I think he taught me how to operate around non-believers in a very loving way. Because obviously college, like there's a lot of wild stuff going on in college, especially public college with athletes around. And so something where I found most beneficial to be able to do was exactly what you said, is just like pursue obedience and godliness and everything. And then from there, like questions are going to come up. And from there, like those will be the open doors for you to be able to kind of share about your faith and why you do what you do. The biggest thing for me was I didn't drink until I was 21. And so all of the question, and even sparingly afterwards, really just 21st and 22nd birthdays. And so from there, that was the biggest opportunity for questions, because like I would go to the parties just to drive the teammates home, everything like that. Mm-hmm. But it's something to where inevitably at every party, someone would be like, hey, like, why aren't you drinking, all that stuff. And so from there, being able to do that. And I think exactly what you're saying with pursuing excellence in what you're doing, pursuing godliness and what you're doing, it's something that, from there, people are going to ask questions of which I'm sure there's probably already been a ton. And so from there, being able to have that as an opportunity to like share God with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the thing I found that like is the most impactful for my community is not to, like preach on set or anything, but just be available and be intentional about those relationships that you build. And, I'm happy to pray for anyone who needs prayer, but I'm not going to like, text them a prayer every single day, you know what I mean? Like to their work phone or anything. And like, does that make sense? So it's like, but I try to make myself as intentional and as available as possible for people. And I just want to love people. I've spent like the first few years of starting up everything. I was, myself a selfish person in the content creation. I was going after it. I was like pushing people out of the way and spending all my time on that. And it's like, that isn't how I want to live, because looking back, it's like, what did I gain from that besides from the money I just spent anyways right away? You know what I mean? The only thing I gained was experience a bit and money, but I could have gained that, by just being a loving person. So it's like, what better way to live your life and live your professional life than to be a loving and positive person.
Yeah, man, I think that's really interesting in terms of like being a light and making that your goal and your aim. So then I guess my question, in light of being in those spaces, wanting to put your best work out there and all that stuff, how do you still keep, I guess, I feel like something we ask people, how do you still keep the Lord where he needs to be and making sure that these other things don't become God and priority in your life? Because you do want to do a good job and you're, hustling and grinding and all these different things. And it's like, I want these kind of numbers, or I want these kinds of responses or whatever. How do you not idolize these things and still balance everything else, I guess I could say?
Well, I mean, I think it comes down to how I schedule myself. And I've had the biggest blessing by moving here to reset my schedule in every way. And like moving and getting married, like my schedule is completely different. So I was able to make it whatever I wanted, and it's and working now like per contract, and I don't have set hours or anything unless there's a shoot or an obligation. So I can kind of set it however I want. So I make sure to start the day with coffee and the Bible, and that comes before I touch my computer, because now we have our computers in the office, and that's where it stays. And so I'm in the Word. I'm spending time with God until I feel like, okay, I'm good. I've been filled for the day or for now, and then I go and I'll like sit down at my computer and start working because like I don't ever want work to become an idol because like everything I have right now is because of God.
Yeah.
And if I were to replace God with it, then he's going to take it away. And, you know, I don't want to just be put in that position. So,
Yeah. So you mentioned it, marriage with Kirby. And it's been super dope to be able to see. I'll never remember, or I'll never forget, I should say.
I've never heard that before. I never remember.
I'll never forget whenever we were having our Alps team reunion last summer. I was texting the whole group, and then Kirby was like, hey, is it cool if I bring my boyfriend along? I'm like, yo, like, let's go. Yes. And so in that night, you were savage with, is it called What Do You Meme?
yeah.
That game, bro, mad funny. It's insane. But so from there, I'll give you the opportunity to share kind of the story of, you know, how you and Kirby met, how everything happened. Because some of it's funny and some of it's like so freaking cool. And then from there, I think we'll get into a little bit of like, how do you balance as being, or we could go during this season, as you were pursuing Kirby, how did you balance your career with pursuing her and honoring her as a daughter of the father like she deserved to be?
Yeah. Well, how we met was on TikTok. So we've told this so many times, and I'm trying to find a shorter way to tell it. It's probably short enough, but I'm always like, how can I consolidate this and make this more efficient? She made a TikTok, and she makes funny Christian content. And one of her TikToks said, "You know what Scripture says: He who finds a wife finds a good thing. How's it going? I'm good thing." And that's, you know, like her like little pickup line, Christian pickup line. And I was just on my For You page, just scrolling. And I remember watching it, and I was like, that's funny. And I was like, that's cool. And then I scrolled past, and then I scrolled back up, and then I was like, wait, that's kind of dope. So I liked it, and then I commented, hi, good thing I'm he. Ooh. And I was like, I'm just going to put that out there because she seemed cool. And I like, you know, I went on her page, and I was like, okay, so she's a believer. I've seen a lot of Christian funny stuff on TikTok that was just a recycled of the 20, 30-year-old Christian jokes and stuff, you know, that you heard throughout youth group and everything. But this is the first one that I saw that was original, and she like, you know, she did original stuff. And I was like, dang, this girl actually has a sense of humor.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, commented that, and then she followed me on TikTok. Or I followed her first, but she followed me back. Then she followed me on Instagram, and I followed her. And then I just, you know, responded to one of her stories, and we started talking, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to, you know, say a few words and then like just, you know, go back to my thing. But then she kept the conversation going, and I was like, who does that? You know, like girls don't usually do that. Girls are usually like, okay, haha.
Yeah.
And nice. But yeah, we just had a really good conversation, and it kept going, and I was like, this person is interesting to talk to. And then a couple hours later, after just literally nonstop texting, I was like, hey, I've got to cook now. I'm not trying to get your number, but if you want to FaceTime through Instagram, you know, do the video chat feature, I'm down, but I've got to cook because when I need my hands, I can't be typing. So she was cool with that, and we just started video chatting, which is also blew my mind because I'm like, no person would just video chat the first day. You know what I mean? Like with someone they don't know. But yeah, we just got along really well. And so we got in video, and we got along, and we just had great conversation. And I remember it went on for like 3 hours, and then ended up talking every single day since.
Yeah.
On FaceTime. Like we FaceTimed every single day since, either in person or on FaceTime for like 4 to 16 hours in a day, pretty much. So.
Yeah. Which is crazy because then that eventually led from you to move from the Vancouver area down here to Texas. And so it's been so funny. And so from there, talk a little bit about that season and what it was like as moving down here, being able to balance everything.
So I moved down here unintentionally because we started seeing each other, and we're like, let's hang out in person, whatnot. And then so she flipped to see me because I lived in Vancouver, and I also had like a business. I couldn't really leave for long at all. So she was like, okay, I've got a flexible schedule. I'll come up and visit you. We'll see if this is a thing in person. did that a couple times. We got along amazing in person too, which was like, I was like, how does this keep on getting better? Because, you know, like either it's like great conversation over text or over the phone, and then in person it's like, okay, how are you? You know? But like, it was just, I was like, I've never met someone like this. Like, this is so cool to have someone that I vibe with in every way. And so basically, we traveled back and forth to see each other until the pandemic started. And by that time, we had started dating officially, because I was like, I think this is the right woman. Like, I was pretty confident this is the right woman for me and the woman I want to marry. So I was like, you know what? I'm committing to you as your boyfriend, but I'm gonna marry you. And if that isn't gonna happen, if that isn't on the table, this is ending immediately, and that's that. So I said that, and then borders shut like 2 weeks later or a week later, and we were separated for like 3.5 months, and then I was able to I made some connections down here, and I was able to, you know, have a few meetings down here. So I traveled down in July, and I also visited her, but mostly just meetings. And then the people that I met with wanted me to meet other people. And so like it was creatives and people in like ministry and in video that wanted to meet. And I kept on meeting more people. And then, you know, I think it was even your thing, like when we all came to your place, she's like, hey, thing's happening in a few days. And I'm like, okay, I'll just push my flight back. And so I kept on pushing my flight back over and over again. And then, you know, being here long enough, I was like, I can't go back and not propose to this woman. Cause I was like, I'm for sure in this now. So, I just proposed to her, and then, which took, you know, a bit of planning. So I was like, let me push my flight back 3 weeks, and then I'll propose, and then we'll have a few days, and then I'll fly home to get my stuff in order. And then, basically we talked to a lawyer, just be like, what's the smartest way to do this? Cause we didn't want to do anything bad or wrong with immigration. Cause I'm Canadian, she's American. And the lawyer said, don't go home. Cause if you go home while you're engaged, you're going to have to apply for the, engagement visa, like the 90-day fiance, which doesn't take 90 days to get it. It takes like 10 months to get it without COVID. And then you have 90 days to get married. Yeah. So he's like, don't do that. And we're like, okay, well, we just want to get married fast anyways. Cause we're like, you know, no sense in wasting time. And we weren't going to have a pandemic wedding because you couldn't gather more than like 9 people. Yep. And so we're like, let's just, you know, elope. Cause we had talked about it even before the pandemic started, like that we wanted to elope and stuff. So it kind of all came together, but then I was just here. And so I still, to this day, I'm paying rent for my place back in Canada. I'm paying rent. I've not gone back in about a month shy of a year now. Wow. So that's how I like moved here, and that's that transition looked like. It was. Yeah. I just had a friend to mail me clothes, mail me a few clothes.
Give me something, please.
Yeah, I was like anything. I just have black T-shirts. You know.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of my gym membership. I had it for like 2 years, and I didn't pay.
Shooting your shot with a girl?
No. I didn't go to the gym for like 2 years, but I kept paying for it.
Yeah. So eventually, like, what are you doing at the gym?
Nah,
I know you're doing your ankle workouts.
I'm always doing ankle workouts. Too? Nah, that's a dangerous place. But no, I think that's really interesting because it's not a conventional way of, you know, meeting somebody.
Yeah,
but it still worked out perfectly.
Yep.
You know, and I feel like I talked to a couple people. I talk to friends at times, and they want this traditional way of engaging and meeting somebody who could potentially be their spouse or whomever. And so it's really interesting for you guys. It started from, you know, you responding to you know, a TikTok video, and that leads you guys to being here. So for the guy who's out there, you know, he's been eyeing a young lady on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and is wanting to send a message, you know, what would you tell that guy, you know?
That's a tough one because there's a lot of people out there eyeing that
there's
girl,
a lot,
you know, and there's, you know, that's a tough question. But I mean, you know, if you have peace about it, you know, if you can tell through her content and what she, you know, promotes, because you can tell a lot, you know, people's content by the character through their Instagram stories and their posts, and don't base it off the Bible verse in their bio for sure. But like, you know,
right.
but if you see that they have good character and that's something that you admire, then there's no harm in starting a like a respectable conversation.
Yeah.
So
I think that's funny you mentioned the Bible verse in her bio. I think I was on a girl's page once, and the Bible verse was the most random thing I ever saw. I was like, okay, let me see, what Bible verse is this? And so I flipped through it, and I was like, this makes absolutely no sense. Like, it wasn't something like I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. It was just one of those.
Is one of them Zephaniah joints or something?
No, it was just a Bible verse that's almost like a transitional verse, like Jesus walked to Samaria, something random like that. I was like, what? Why is that your Bible verse? I was confused, but that's good. He's still laughing. I don't know.
Yeah,
I find Bible verses in bios very.
No,
very
it's just like if you're gonna try that hard, like why not just like double check and see what it is?
Yeah, like put a good one on there. Don't put a random Bible verse. I was like,
oh my.
how does that apply to your life?
that'd actually be a good prank. If you're a friend of the Bible verse in bio, just like go on their Instagram and change like the last two letters. Of
Yeah.
the
It's something completely random.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think there's we were speaking about relationships in terms of being in terms of Instagram and before we start recording and being private and some of those things. So there is a culture that we see where it's like you want to put your life out there, you want people to see who you're dating, you want people to see what you're eating, but you guys chose not to do that. So can you speak about that at all, or?
Yeah, I actually started first of all with her because she has a platform. She's a large platform, and with her previous relationship, she had just had a lot of people talk, know about her relationship. And after they broke up for like a year, people would DM her about it, comment on her videos about him, and would even approach him in public, like a year after they broke up, about the relationship and ask them, like in a Starbucks, like, why did you break up with Kirby, kind of thing. So like that was a really, and I hope it's okay sharing. I think it's okay sharing that. She shared it on our podcast before, but it was just that like she didn't like that being in the public kind of affected the partner's life in that way. And I really respected that. So we just chose that. Like, we'd seen so many people have public stuff, and first of all, we weren't hanging out all the time either because we lived in two different countries.
Right.
And so there wasn't a lot of content besides FaceTime screenshots for a few months. So it's like, and we just felt like, it only matters to like our communities really. And so we just, would share with our communities that was happening, but we didn't want to put too much stake into it because I had jumped on, like in previous relationships as well, I jumped to posting and like sharing all this, and then suddenly, the relationship's done like really quickly. And so it's just like, I didn't want to do that again. And I didn't want to, just create content out of something that was actually meaningful. And I had the personal track record of, give me a second. I had the personal track record of doing that in the past. And I didn't want to, I wanted to make sure it was pure and intentional as well, and wasn't just someone I was dating because they're pretty and I could, create awesome content with them and do all this stuff. I was like, I want this to be as intentional as possible, and there to be no second guessing about my intentions here. It was for her, not for the clout, not for the content or anything. And I wanted to be very, very intentional with that because I was like, I'm not messing this up.
Yeah,
that's so good because I think not even for me, like in the context of like relationships, but over the last year during quarantine, like I've found the value of privacy. I think like not so much of like me wanting to be private and stuff like that, like that not being like a desire, but just like seeing the value of privacy. And so then from there, being at that point willing to like place that and like pursue that at different points, whether it's like different seasons of life that I felt like God was telling me like, hey, let's be a little bit more private, like just you and me kind of thing. Or with various other things where like in the past I've been, very trusting of people with like various topics in life whenever it's just like, all right, God just kind of like, all right, you shouldn't be telling this to like everyone. Like there's close friends for a reason. And so I think that's super cool, especially within the context of a relationship, being able to pursue that. Because I think there's a lot of, as you said, like there's a lot of intentions that I think you're able to discern and tell both by whenever you say no to people, but also whenever you like there's no potential other benefit other than, hey, I'm just doing this just simply because I love this person.
Yeah.
And I mean, Jesus says, like, you know, whenever you love the least of these, you love me. And I think there's a lot of things about love whenever it's just like, all right, whenever you do something for someone who can't do something back to you, or for you, I should say, then there's something true in that and something virtuous about that. And so I love that y'all pursued that in that like intentional way, because I know, like, so there was some other friends that have recently as well that I really admired, and it was special to be able to like witness that, you know, as friends firsthand and stuff like that, and be like, okay, I can see the behind the scenes of this and see how fruitful this is and just how beneficial this is. And I think the same would have happened maybe if it was in the public eye, but keeping it private was super great. So then I think from there, do you think the same thing would have happened if y'all would have had it a little bit more in the public eye?
That's a good question. I mean, probably. I feel like, though, a lot of my decisions just around everything in general might have been more performative.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
because I was like, up until 2020, I was posting every single day to my stories and probably almost every single day to my feed, and I was like all the time. And then in 2020, I posted 12 times, and I didn't post, you know, a story for the first 4 months of the year.
Yeah.
So like, I was used to that, and I was used to, like, you know, being out there and being this character and being, you know, someone who wasn't really me. And so I think if we were to be that way on social, I suddenly would have had to, you know, be like that guy who's posting all the mushy happy 6 months, posting all that, and like all, you know, like I would have had, and like, even though like I'm all about, you know, affirming her and speaking, you know, and telling her those things, you know, every single day, random days. I don't like doing stuff, by the way, on like the day that you're supposed to do something. Like, we did Christmas gifts three weeks early, just to get out of the way, because we're like, you know what, we just want to do that. And we also love, you know, just like love gifts and stuff. So, but we did that early. Like, you know, I love, you know, surprising her with things just on a random day. Like, I'll go to the store for groceries and then come back with like a bracelet. And now she wears it every day. And it's just like, it isn't attached to Valentine's. It isn't attached to this. I just want to do it to be separate from that. So it's like, I'm glad, I don't know. I feel like it would have been different if it was that performative side of things, because I would have had the obligation as the Christian boyfriend of the YouTuber, you know, like I would have been the guy, like I would, and her audience already follows me now. Like, the second I was announced, they like 2,000 of them followed me, and I'm just like, okay, now these people expect stuff, and I'm like, I'm not going to give them what they expect. I'm going to give them what I feel like I'm supposed to be posting and sharing. So, but like, yeah, if we were public, it would have been a lot more of that, I feel. And now I understand it. Now I'm like, I've taken time with it. And now what I post will be intentional from me, and, you know, what I feel like I should be sharing. Yeah. But if at that point I wasn't quite grounded in my faith either, and I think I could have gotten really easily caught up on that.
That's a really good the Christian boyfriend thing made me laugh, because there's the Instagram boyfriends that can, you know, take pictures and do all the videos and all that good stuff. Now, in terms of, you know, we've had Kirby on, and kind of we got to speak to her about, you know, the platform and influence and all those different things. Was that ever a something that kind of made you pause, where it was like, man, this is like, it's different, you know, for some reason in our minds, it's just different when somebody, you know, has influence or a platform or whatever the situation might be, where it made you almost look at somebody a certain way, even though you know her as a person, that's not her, but there's this perception that people might have of an individual. You're trying to come in their life, and to your point of you having to post these Christian boyfriend posts, you know, was that ever like something that came across your mind because of the nature of just, you know, content and having a platform and all that?
The only thing, like, because I have been fortunate to like work alongside a lot of really successful people in the social media world, so that never was an intimidating thing for me, and I was kind of like brought into that early. Right. But the only thing that did affect was just meeting her and just talking to her. I kind of came with this like, oh, she has her colors and aesthetic on her feed, and I was like, oh, she's that. And then I realized, like, as I got to know her as a person, I was like, oh, like she's actually like really artistically creative. Like I just found out like she paints. Like I knew she paints, but like she was painting this Bible like a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, you're doing this from like just from memory, like just by eye. She was painting it. I was like, this looks so good. I was like, anyway, so like she's like surprisingly creative and talented in that. And that was one thing I came at her with the expectation of like she's just like every other influencer that I had met up until that point.
Yeah.
And so that was the only thing that kind of shifted my perspective. But yeah, it quickly was like she quickly kind of shattered that.
Yeah.
Whatever the word is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the word I feel like a lot of people use is intimidating. It's like they're intimidated by this, that, or the other. I'm like, they're just people, So I don't know.
Yeah. And I think it's super cool because I mean, it's not like you were not in the public eye in some sorts like before you and Kirby got together either. Like you had, a substantial following with everything that you were doing in terms of your platforms and the content that you were putting out. And so I think God, in a way, was incrementally developing you in that to be able to prepare you for everything with Kirby and everything that I think he has planned for you going forward.
Yeah. There's a lot of good groundwork there, I think.
Yeah. And so from there, because you talked about it a little bit from like the pursuit angle, but I think from more so the newlywed angle, what has been some of the things that y'all have really needed to be intentional about in protecting your time together as newlyweds in this first year of marriage, while still also, stewarding, the gifts and the careers and everything that God's given you well?
The first part, just what have I been like forced to be intentional about, pretty much, or like motivated to be intentional about?
Yeah, exactly.
You'll have to ask me the other two questions after.
No, it's okay. Whether it's like date nights, whether it's like certain times of the day that y'all need to be together, like gifts, like you brought that up, like things like that.
I think the biggest thing is growth. So like, I don't think anyone's going to be ready for marriage, which is what I've heard. And I was like, I'm ready. But then, you're not. But like, I think the biggest thing that I could do for myself and for her was personal growth and growth in my faith. And so that's one thing I actually did even more of after we got married. I was like, I need to like really dig into the word. Cause like she's relying on me to be, a leader, and she wants me to be a leader. And if I don't know what I'm doing, if I don't have that direction from God, then I need to build a relationship with God. And if I'm not building a relationship with God, then like, where am I going? Cause I'm leading us. But if I'm not going towards where God wants me to go, then I'm leading both of us off course. So my biggest thing was like, aligning myself in the word and taking more time for that and being even more intentional, because that's now I have more responsibility than just my own, my own faith, It's not just like me and my faith. So that was the biggest thing. And then we both work from home. So we have so much free time to just hang out, if we need to. Like, it's never like, I don't know. I couldn't imagine the whole 8-hour job
going into an office and all that.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine doing that with her right now, just because it's so nice to just rest and like, take breaks when we want and like, do the errands, do the things we need to do throughout the day, but still see each other like all day pretty much. So that's really cool. So it's tough because like I want to give advice, but at the same time we have such a unique experience that like not often do you have two people working from home. Besides COVID, you don't have two people working their own hours and their own projects from home. So
I think I brought it up whenever we spoke to Gibran many months ago. Was I was randomly reading the Bible like in the Old Testament. Apparently, God has set it up for when people got married, that the first year they weren't supposed to do nothing, just spend time together, get to know your spouse and all these things. And I was like, wow. But nowadays, you go to a honeymoon for like a week and then you go back to the 9 and 5 and you kind of see each other in passing at times. So the relationship is, there's some challenges there. Whereas for you guys, like you said, the experience is a little bit unique where you both get to work from home, kind of go through that COVID time together.
Yeah.
And get to spend a lot of time together. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, everything's been so unconventional from like how we met to how we got married and like eloped, and to how just like everything came to be. Like we didn't even get to have a honeymoon because we were about to go to Hawaii for Christmas, and then we got COVID like a week before.
Yeah.
So nothing's been conventional so far, and we're happy with that because we're just on an adventure right now. So
Yeah, man. That's super dope. And I definitely, from what the little bit that I've seen, I mean, just being friends and everything like that, man, like, I think the Holy Spirit is bearing, like, so much fruit through y'all, and that there's a lot of exciting things that are coming up around the corner as life returns back to normal that He has prepared for you and for Kirby, for y'all, that y'all will be able to step into. And it's gonna be a lot of fun, man. Yeah. So I'm excited for it. So I think the last thing we're going to do is we're going to have a little bit of fun. Normally, whenever we talk about culture, also, I don't know if, you brought it up. Richard's Canadian.
Yeah.
Not from the 6.
No, not from the 6.
From Vancouver.
I thought the 6 was just...
I believe it's the area code of Toronto.
Okay. Whoopsie.
No, it's all good.
We'll take this part out.
We can edit it out.
We'll edit this part out. It's going to make it, so we get it.
But normally whenever we talk about cultural stuff, it's from the aspect of like, okay, what are some things that are different? What are some things that, American culture could learn from that culture, this culture from American culture? And, Canadian and American cultures are pretty similar. And so whenever we're talking about, podcasts, we're like, all right, we don't really want this just to be some silly cliche kind of thing where it's not valuable. It's just like repeating things like that. So what we took the liberty to do, and we've run none of these by Rich. Okay. So we're going to see how this goes, is look up some essentially Canadian, I guess, stereotypes, I guess you could say, and differences between American culture to see what you think about them. Some of them may produce a laugh. Some of them may fall flat. So we'll see how this goes, okay?
There we go.
You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. First thing, which I think you demonstrated earlier in the podcast, actually. People from Canada apologize a lot. A lot. How you said pardon earlier, that was hilarious.
Really?
Yes, dude.
Don't even remember it.
You did.
I'm just so nice, I guess. I don't
pardon.
know. I'm just kidding.
You think that's true?
A little bit, yeah. I remember coming back from New Zealand, and I had just gone like 6 months just like living there, and I don't remember the last time I said sorry. But I remember as soon as I walked off the plane, it was like maybe it was the air or something, but on my way to customs, I was like shuffling around people in a hurry, to get to my next flight. And I remember saying sorry like 15 times before in the first like 20 minutes of being in Canada. And I was like, okay, there it is. I noticed it immediately because like that's just kind of culture. It's like, you want to be respectful of everyone else. And if you're moving around, like you're like, okay, I'm sorry, excuse me, so yeah, we do say sorry a lot, I think, but it's more so just a common respect, I guess, for everyone around you.
Yeah, because I mean, I think us in Texas do it some too. Like, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Like, we try. At least the ones who are proper. I guess would be the way I say it.
It's definitely a lot of like kind people here. I've noticed. Not everywhere in the States, but here.
No, definitely not. Yeah, definitely not. Yeah,
unfortunately. So the next thing, which I think, if you just want to share about this at all for people who don't know about Canadian culture, that'd be great. Is two things which kind of relate: expensive flights across Canada versus cheaper flights across the USA. And then from there, the fact that Canada has 2 official languages, French and English. So from there, I think both of those speak to like there being like vastly different parts of Canada, which I mean, there is in America, but I think to a different degree in Canada. So you want to talk about Quebec and all the other parts of Canada, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, with Quebec, it's a province that's essentially very separated, just like in a way how Texas wants to be separate from the similar way that Quebec wants to be separate. And there was obviously a lot of different people who came and settled in all these colonies, before the countries were created and whatnot. And there was a very large French population that they chose the Quebec area as their, as their new France kind of. And so they just maintained the culture, and they didn't speak really English or anything. Wow. And they had their own communities, and they, built their own towns and cities, and they've just thrived there. So because of the large French population, and a lot of the historic aspects of it is that they've maintained a lot of their language. So when I went there for work a couple of years ago, all the stop signs, everything's in French. All the signs are in French in general. And everybody speaks fluently, essentially. And I've had friends that actually came to British Columbia, where I'm from Quebec, and they had just learned to speak English a few months prior, like as adults. Yeah. He was 20 years old or something, and he just learned English. So it's that separate. But again, they're part of Canada, and things are pretty much the same there. They just have slightly different laws here and there, and everyone's taught in French, and then they are also taught English as a second language. But then again, it's just like how in America everyone's taught Spanish and doesn't remember it. Because like your community, your culture doesn't really speak English. For sure. But there's a lot of people that do speak English there. I don't want to paint it bad, but then the rest of Canada, they're just mostly English speaking. We all learned French in high school for 3 years, and then there's also some French immersion schools which speak only French in school. Okay. So I have a friend who actually taught at a couple of those schools, and so I think every town has one. Pretty much every town and city has at least a few of them, which is good if parents want their children to be completely bilingual. And for example, if you're running for office somewhere, to be a prime minister or to be just a member of parliament, which is like a senator, then you have to be bilingual as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice, because I had a teammate who was from Montreal in college, and so his French accent was so funny, and I was able to go up there to Quebec City and Montreal, so be able to take in some of that culture. That was fun.
It's really good. The food's amazing there too,
bro. It is like fancy poutine with duck, and bro, we need to get you up there soon. It is fire. It's amazing. And then did y'all have a place called Beaver Tails over in the Vancouver area?
I've heard of that. I don't remember what it is, but
it's like a fried. I don't want to say it's like a fried fritter thing, but like a fried dough thing that you could put like Nutella and all that, bro.
Yeah.
So good, okay, so good. Cool. Dang, I was hoping you'd know that, man.
Yeah,
we could relate. Dang it. Other thing, which is obviously the biggest difference, I think.
What was the first thing you asked before the flights?
Yeah.
Is that what you're about to ask? Sorry for interrupting.
Go on. Go.
I think what it is the fares being so expensive, because this is the biggest frustration for me, because I love to travel, but it's so expensive to travel everywhere. Basically, the population is less, so there's less people flying. And so if you have less frequency of flyers, then that means you only really need one or two people, one or two WestJet or Air Canada. They're the two main players. You only want like one or two people flying there, or else nobody's going to fill the plane. And basically, these people have the top routes, the top bids for the routes, and they're able to choose their prices because there's far less competition. In the States, there's like 10 major airlines kind of thing, at least, or something like that. But, and you have your Spirit, and then you have your like American, and then you have your JetBlue, which is is that more higher end, right? JetBlue or?
I think it's on the lower end.
I think it might be lower.
I've never flown it, so I wouldn't know. Yeah. But whatever.
So like Canada just started getting the lower end companies. So we have like two that are lower end that are basically your Spirits, and they have the old planes, and they're like a brand new company, and they're flying into the smaller airports and stuff. And those are a bit cheaper, except that it's just, I think it's still, there's not enough people traveling in that area, and not enough population to create too much demand, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
dope. Okay. What I was going to go to, because I think the Congo relates in this, we got to figure this out. This whole metric system thing. Why do y'all still use that? Why can't y'all come over to like the standard that we use here in America? Do
you know that America is the only country that uses that, right?
Come on. Like, come join us. Why not?
Yeah, I was like, coming to America and doing math and having wait, what you guys use? Is it inches? Because I think most places use what's that thing?
Millimeters and meters.
Yeah, and all those different ones. Yeah. America just uses their own thing, and I'm like, that's really weird. So
y'all gotta adopt to us.
Have you looked up why America is using their standard?
Why?
I don't know. Have you?
Oh,
I can Google it right now. But
I thought it was already an answer for this.
yeah, I've looked it up before, but I forgot.
Wait, so
Why
oh
does-
wow, so then at y'all subways, it's not a foot long. Then what is it?
It's a foot long.
So y'all okay?
Yeah. So
What? Join our side.
So listen, growing up, like we know how tall we are in feet, and we know how heavy we are in pounds. So some things are shared commonly. Like I don't know how many centimeters I am tall or how many kilograms I am.
Okay.
So that's more. I think any more heavily British influence, like New Zealand and UK itself, they're more on that side of things. But I'm more feet and pounds with that, and I mean there's a bit of a crossover there, except okay, wait. Let me pull this up. The U.S. used the imperial system because of the British. When British Empire colonized North America, it brought the British imperial system, which was a tangled mess of substandardized medieval weights and measurements. And that's what it says. And so basically, I think they just wanted to do their thing different, make it American, make it great, and that's what they did. And only there's one other small country somewhere that does the imperial system too. I don't know which one, but y'all are alone on this. So
No, they really are.
like,
I'm fine being on an island for that one, man. Miles are better than kilometers. Next one, which will be interesting to think if you think it's the same. Do you think whatever the Canadian dream would be the same as the American dream? You know, the whole idea of like being ambitious, trying to make the world a better place, and making a better life for yourself. Do you think it's the same?
I think that's just a common, Western standard for the most part. Like, I think everyone just wants to be, happy. Everyone wants to be successful to a point in what they do. So,
okay. So then this will be interesting. Says the title of this: Canucks drink milk from bags. Is that a thing?
I don't know if I've ever seen a milk bag. Like I've never seen it. There's milk bags apparently in some stores. I don't know about British Columbia, where I'm from.
Okay.
But I'm guessing in other provinces, it might just be a cheaper way of packaging it, is my guess. And so, better way of distributing it. I don't know. I've never seen that, I don't think, in any of the grocery stores I've ever shopped in. But that was a thing that was trending on Twitter that was like about milk bags. And I was like,
for real?
Okay.
What is a what?
It was Canuck.
What is that?
Which I mean, it's
a derogatory term for Canadians. Not a derogatory, but no, I'm just kidding. No, it's like people are using it that way a little bit more lately, but it's just kind of a term for Canadians.
Wait, then why is Vancouver's hockey team so called the Canucks? Or is that like
because they're like it's the same thing. It's like a slang for Canadians. I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of an American,
like a Yankee?
Yeah,
okay.
That kind of thing. That's pretty much the equivalent.
Okay, interesting. All right, good to know I didn't say anything bad.
Yeah,
that would have been bad.
That's actually a swear word.
Yeah,
we'll beep
right.
it. We'll beep
Right.
it. Just kidding.
Would've been canceled
So
real
we're
quick.
not going to release this.
Yeah. What would you say are some of noticeable differences? Like you meet someone at a party, anywhere, like this person's Canadian. Like, what are some of those tales that just give it away?
I don't. I couldn't ever spot it. I mean, it depends if they're from. Like I say sorry a little bit differently because Americans call it sorry. They say it with an A.
Okay.
I call it sorry. So, but a lot of people just do that for a lot of words. So they'll sound a lot more Canadian, like the classic Canadian accent that you hear, like Minnesotans. Oh yeah, buddy.
Yeah,
like.
people.
But again, like unless they're from a rural area or from Toronto and whatnot, you can't really tell just by talking to them.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think with Congolese people, because I'm from Congo, there's just, I think maybe it's just features. I can tell by their features, and then certain the way they might talk to, in comparison to other African countries as well. So that usually gives it away. The names usually give it away too. Like Nigerians, their names are very interesting. Ethiopians, their names are very interesting. I'm starting to learn more and more and more about different African countries as well. So those things kind of give it away. Yeah.
Yeah. Dope. All right. Well, that was a little bit of fun. Not as fun as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's crazy because like people think there's a lot of differences, and I mean, sometimes there's subcultural differences everywhere, but it's like really like across the board North American for the most part. And I live in it's basically like California, that's same culture as California.
No.
It's also like the movie central. Like there's Vancouver, LA, and then South Carolina in what's it called?
Atlanta.
Yeah. Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
I actually did have another question.
Yeah, go for it.
Your perception of America, did it change once you moved there, or was it still the same?
My perception of America?
Yeah.
Well, like I've traveled to America plenty of times,
Okay.
so I kind of understood it. But I think maybe my perception of Texas changed.
That's a good one. Yeah.
When I was here, I came here in 2018, actually to Fort Worth. I was on tour with a band, and they were touring through. So I was able to experience Fort Worth, and I was like, this is, and Fort Worth is more of like the country-ish version, but that was far more progressive than I anticipated. And that to me, I was like, this changed my expectations of what Texas is, and I thought it was really cool. And of course, everywhere has rural areas with, the heavy accents and the everything else, but I was really surprised by that. And I was like, I remember going onto the street and I was like, there's a vegan, gluten-free bakery here. There's like there's a cafe filled with creatives right over here. And I was like, and I was just really surprised by like, the type of culture there was even downtown and just how nice it was. So anyways, that's one thing I was surprised about. And then when I came to Dallas to visit Kirby, I was really surprised just how nice of a city it was. And I was like, this city stands out for real. Like, so.
Dope.
Yeah.
Awesome. You got anything
we're
else,
good.
man?
Good.
You good? Dope. You have any last things you want to share just about anything, man?
I don't have anything off the top of my head. I mean, I could always keep talking if you need to fill time, but
No, we're good. Yeah, we're
No,
good. We want to get you
We're
on
pressing
here
up
on
against time a little bit. Yeah. We got some time.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me.
Man,
for
thanks
real.
for being on.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Appreciate this.
It was a good
working out.
conversation, definitely about, because I mean, something that me and Josue are trying to learn in is just like single dudes. It's definitely just that balance of relationship and entrepreneurship and just healthy pursuit and like honoring like whoever our future wives are going to be well. And so having conversations to be able to learn about that. And then, creativity has been like a I cannot speak right now, dear Lord.
English is your first language.
Chill. Texan is my first language, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
A more recent interest of ours. And so it's always fun being able to talk about that. Go from there. But yeah, man, as I've already said a couple times, super excited to see everything that God has in store for you and Kirby. Thanks, it'll be sick, man. But awesome. That'll be a wrap for us today, y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. What we'll do probably towards the start, we'll put some of your photos, some of your work, maybe some of your videos, just to be able to display that so they can see that. And then we're going to be linking all of Richard's information in the description. If you'd like to support him, check him out, everything like that. It's amazing. And all of our information will be in the description. So if you want to support us, the podcast outreaches, all that fun stuff, that'd be great. So Rich, thanks again, man.
Thank you.
So until next time, much love. God bless.